Like Charlie Chaplin, he's got this incredible quality, and then we know from his history, well, that he had this other life where he was not he didn't have these qualities. He was not this perfect human. He had these struggles, but he had this archetypal quality, this this role of the trickster, the jester. He had this completeness about him, that he was embodying an archetype. But that's only a part of our life, and we have all parts of our life where we are embodying those archetypes, these qualities. We are connected, and then we have other parts of our life that it's we're adrift. We're like this. We're just humans, and we don't have that what we had in this other spectrum of our life, where we had those archetypal qualities.
Hi there, welcome to the replay of our after hours discussions with professional coaches. Your exclusive complimentary Sunday session for all of our community around the world, where coaching minds unite with our people to create real world results. I am Adrian Cahill, your host and founder of the Motivate community, and more recently, Monday Morning Motivation. As a global trainer in NLP, neuro-linguistic programming, coaching, and hypnosis, this weekly gathering brings some of my colleagues from trainings, my fellow students and coaches all together in one place where we can discuss, share, help change the world by delivering free, quality information that's here to help you transform.
But Peter, we shared I shared a metaphor with the group last night, and we had it a couple of times, a bit trance-like as well, but without the trance even. If you think about a fruit, or a flower that slowly becomes a fruit, any kind of fruit, if you imagine the fruit hanging on the tree, hanging on a tree branch, each day, a complete cycle, the sun going around, different cycles of the moon, and this flower is there becoming a fruit, and after months and months, 5 months, suddenly it just goes drop, and it's over. But then it sits there on the ground, and the cycle goes around and around and around, the sun and the moons, everything going around, and eventually, boom, life starts. The little seedling starts to germinate down. At the same time it goes down, it goes up, But it's like cycle by cycle, day by day, no change, or just a littlest incremental change, and then suddenly, boom, you're in it. Yeah. It's interesting the way that works.
Yeah. There's a lot going on under the surface. So thank you all for coming here. It's really valuable to have this space to share, and to really just begin, like, to step into our different archetypal qualities that we have, to be able to share what we know. I know Adrian from NLP. 6-7 years ago, we were in Portugal, and in the summer we were talking about archetypes. My experience is an experiential learning about archetypes. I do a thing called fooling, which is part theater, performative space, where we go into archetypal qualities, where we go into different scenes, and then we meet an archetype, and there's an archetype behind us that is influencing us, and we're kind of trying to figure that out. And so when Adrian gave me this task of archetypes, I immediately thought, well, I don't know the theory of it. So it set me on a path, and of course Jung features very prominently in this work. So I'm going to be introducing Jung's work. And in a way, we're here as a coaching group, and NLP is that thing that brings us together predominantly. And so it was quite an interesting path to go into this other lineage, which is the other side of things, which is more the psychoanalysis. When I did NLP, we were told psychoanalysis, this is a slow thing, and you go to a psychotherapist for 20 years and nothing really happens. And NLP, that's the one that brings out about change. And that's what I believed. And I still, that's where my skills lie in NLP. And yet, when I began to learn more about Jung's work, it started to click. Many things started to click. So I'll just introduce myself just briefly. Um, my work is in NLP and coaching, but very much theater as well. So in this time here we're together, and you're very welcome to put on your your screens so that I can see you. That helps to interact because I want us to go together because I'm not, there's a few links I can share if you want to really know about archetypes in the very theoretical young version of them. But here we're gonna be just doing more an immersive thing. So I mean, you're only gonna go as far as you're able to go. Um, as in you have just pure license to be like in your inner world. In Jung would have very much never done anything outwardly. Extrovert, he was an introvert. And so he went into his inner world. He created a thing called active imagination. And so you can be there immersed in that, knowing that we're going to go into a space now of archetypal qualities and for you to witness that inside of yourself. What my main thing is that I've been working on the last few years is the imagination and the imagination space. And it's been very much an outwardly imagination that we start to create and not be created. So this quote here from William Blake that says, the imagination is kind of pushed away to this, it's just this thing, but the imagination is not a state. It is the human existence itself. So this is the guiding principle. It seems very like authoritarian, but this is a guiding thing that's going to be guiding this talk is about the imagination. And I'm going to be sharing things and putting up different ideas, and that it's what's happening behind. That's I want you to start to immerse yourself in that, to allow yourself to imagine what is going on in you as we go on this journey together, because that's the only way we can go together. Okay, so that's another word for a journey into archetype. It's tangential worlds. Adrian's got to keep me online, not got to go off topic too much. So yeah, and for you. So as much as we can participate together, it's gonna make it more interesting, and yeah, to be excited about it and to have curiosity. Curiosity is going to be a very important companion here. Adrian's laughing away.
Yeah, I love that slide. I love that slide.
So there's there's a map, there's a workshop road here, which I'm not going to very much, maybe not follow so much, but I would hope that we can participate in this together as much as can be. So this is Mr. Carl Jung. He was this guy who, at a very young age, realized when he was a child that when he went out to play with his friends, different forces, different behaviors would come out, and he was very aware that that's not him. He was someone introverted who would play very much on his own in his own world, and he had peace there. But when he went out into the world, out when kids came over to play, he would start doing all sorts of things that he was not. He could sense from a very early age that it wasn't congruent with that. But he realized that there were these masks that we had to put on to be able to live in the world, and there was these these influences all around of us that are began to shape him. But I mean, he had later in life he had his transformations, but he was someone who from a very young age had that kind of inner sense that there's this big difference between what's in our inner world and our outer world. And he this is him now when he's much older, just to give a sense of his culmination. This is a couple of years before his death. He was having an interview, and just get a sense of his
And did
energy.
he make you attend church regularly?
Oh, well, that was quite natural.
Yes.
Everybody went to church on
Yes.
Sunday.
And did you believe in God?
Oh, yes.
Do you now believe in God?
Now, difficult to answer. I know. I don't need to believe. I know.
What about your school days now?
So basically, jumping into this next slide here, Jung spent his whole life exploring the. I just gotta go back. Spent his whole life exploring the consciousness itself, and he began to notice that there were these familiar patterns that different diverse cultures had, yet they had these very much these similarities all around the world that they had. For example, this one was this seven-headed being, and they were being found in Russia, in Mexico, and in the Vishnu god there in India. So there was this thing that was outside of our conscious knowledge. There was no way that a conscious being could have come about that. So he began to see that we have our own personal world, our conscious personality, and then outside of that, we have this unconscious within us, and this unconsciousness within us. Then there was this collective unconscious, and this collective unconscious held within it all of history and what his drive, that he would say very directly that until we make this unconscious conscious, it directs our life, and that the striving of what we are to become is to make the unconscious conscious. Like, for example, if I was thinking, I don't know, as a child, I used to always look at these pictures of these fish that lived, or these sea creatures that lived 7,000 meters under the sea. And they look so unusual and so weird and wacky and strange. And we still have not found them all. There are so many creatures down below that we have not found. We've only explored like a small percentage of the ocean. And in a way, it's the same with our unconscious, that we have really only tapped into a small amount of our being. And with Jung, he was there saying to us that we must go and find and meet that unconsciousness inside of us, like in a way that there's a spotlight in a dark room, and as we swing that spotlight around, that part becomes conscious, and all the darkness around there is still unconscious. And so we're there, and as we can start to make that light bigger, we can begin to see how we have so much more capabilities, and our being begins to expand. And the archetypes don't have like a good and a bad side to them. When I'm very naive that the more we can make that unconscious conscious, then we can just really just start to believe that it's not about believing in things. We meet an archetype, and when we meet the archetype of, for example, we meet the king archetype. The king archetype, my presentation is about the fact that the archetype is given to us. And I'd love to do an exercise, but I mean I can see that there's people not on their screens, but maybe me and Adrian can do it together if you would like. So Adrian, can I give you an exercise to do?
Yeah, certainly.
Okay. So
And sorry, so we can say king and we can talk about these archetypes. So when you feel it, so whatever you say, I'm 100%. I like to do an exercise or really feel it.
yeah, great. And if anyone else would like to join as well, that would be great. But I'd like to give just this exercise of we're just going to imagine a space here where you, Adrian, are the king, and I am I'm your servant. I'm your person who's one of your subjects, okay? So I would like you to just go, and for everyone else to feel into this archetypal quality of the king. Now, we might begin with stereotypical king, but just to feel that influence of that king inside of you, that sovereign being that is that doesn't need to do anything, is just the king of his own inner world, and has all this responsibility that he's able for, all this responsibility that can be met and is being met. And beginning to allow images come to mind of those influences, those king influences, that person who is able to hold this whole being, this whole country inside of themselves, and is leading.
Straight away, I feel my whole back like straight, not slouch. It's like
Yes, it's that physical thing. The more we can go in, that came from the king quality, and then with this with the physical awareness that the body knows, the body is that first guide to that archetype.
and for some reason, I'm imagining like right angles. And I went from sitting, how I was sitting, to like right angles. My legs are right angles, flat, everything. Like it's like sharp.
On the king's chair, that king's chair, that such an
Yeah, there's a
influence.
lot more like black and white thinking.
Yeah. So yeah, we'll actually come back to that. Thank you so much, Adrian, for jumping in there.
I feel like I access this energy a fair bit. You know, I have property, right? So when I'm managing business, I often feel like a bit like whatever that energy was. I feel I use that energy a fair bit in work and business.
Great. Yeah. So that the king is really useful, but only at those times when we need it. When we bring the king home with us, it's not so useful. The point of the archetypes is they're just like us as humans, they're just passing through. They're just passing through for the moments that we need them, or the moments that uh, sometimes we haven't asked for them and they come and we want to reject them because we want to be the king. We always want to be the king. That's kind of our issue, that we can be being the king for the moments when they're needed, but oftentimes it's that we want to be the king all the time, and yet
It
we have all these.
sucks. It sucks. It sucks being a king all the time, and the king needs to calm down and open up to other energies and stuff. But a lot of kings end up getting stuck in the kingdom, and they keep going further and further with the king energy. They keep going further and further, and going from 1 mil to 2 to 3, up and 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 up. And it's almost like hard work sometimes then to take the king face off, to take the king energy off and to walk back home with the kids or a wife and a loving family. And I know a lot of women might love to be married to a king, but do you want that king? Do you want to sleep next to that person as a king too? Uptight and focus on the kingdom? You probably don't want to sleep with that king.
No.
Just use the kingdom.
Yeah, and I'd love if, because we're sharing, Motivate is very much in the Eastern world, so I would love to get other people's opinions on this, because there's this kind of divide between the Western and Eastern worlds, where in the Western world we put on much more this mask of being a king, going out in the world and then coming home and then having this different ways that we are. And yet in the East, at least in the past, before this Western influence came, that those people had these archetypal qualities, didn't take them off. They were in the village, they were the plumber, they were the tradesman, and they wear that. They didn't have to put on this appearance, go to work and become a different person. While here in the Western world, we put on these masks, and this Western world is influenced, of course, these. But anyway, back to this. When I was doing this research, I wanted to know what archetypes. We've got these archetypes, and Jung has 12 archetypes, and then someone else has 25 archetypes. And I wanted to know, where is that divide between what is archetypal and what is not? And this tribe, these people who are based predominantly in Brazil, my friend was doing this research on them at the time, and she said, or I researched, that they had these orishas, which were like god type people, very similar to archetypes, and they said that there was 400 plus 1 archetypes, and then other people said that there was infinite archetypes plus 1, so that we can't really narrow it down to say what it is, because we can't pinpoint. It's this elusive thing. It is this archetypal quality. The divide comes really between time and timelessness. So in time, for example, the sun up in there in the sky, in its time world, it is at one point going to extinguish. It is something that's going to die and disappear. And yet behind the sun, it has a timeless quality to it. The sun has this representation of what there's light and enlightenment, there's divinity, there's white light. There's all these different qualities that we could talk about are symbols. Archetype and symbols are very closely related. In this timeless quality. So this is what we're here. We're here on this earth. We're just doing our normal thing. We're going around. We're in time. And then outside of this are these timeless qualities that the archetypes come down, and come down. We meet them um, in this sense. Do you does anyone want to go and the more we can like just explore this together to find out where your understanding is at, we can explore it and find out because we want to meet the archetypes. Okay. So this was a nice description that Jung talked about this, the collective unconscious. I do horticulture, and so we've got all these plants, and they've got different root systems. One root system is the rhizome, and he spoke about individual consciousness being only this flower that comes and the fruit of the season that is sprung from this underground root system that is there every year. It's a perennial flower. It's a perennial plant, and it's a rhizome underneath the earth. And he spoke about that we could think of this consciousness and unconsciousness in this way, we can really start to begin to understand that there's so much more underneath.
I'm going to jump in there, Peter. Can you just go back one? That rhizomatic. I went into some NLP training maybe 6-7 years ago, and the trainer's one of the world's best. And he called his training rhizomatic. And we just use the rhizome and rhizomatic metaphors. You know, and China's got the bamboo. And in the East, in China, they use the bamboo metaphor a lot. And people don't generally realize the interconnectedness, right? And so much is happening under the ground. It's like a lot of people plant seeds, or they do work. They go to the gym. They turn off the dating app and they go out to whatever. They start to diet. They make big decisions. It happens all the time, but they don't get the results they want. And so often it's like the real work is rhizomatic. It's little changes constantly underneath the radar, you know, and I can't get into all of it, and I can't even remember all of it, but the rhizome was just, it's amazing seeing consciousness from this perspective. It's really beautiful.
Yeah, and that we don't need to do it all, but we need to do our 50%. Is like we have to do our 50%, and then we're going to be met by the other 50%. It's not we're not that just like a plant on our own that says, I must do it all. I must do all this work and it's all me. But it's like, yes, we do have to do work. We have to show up. We have to do our part. We have to do as we, for example, this group is here for coaching, and we are coming bring ourselves out into the world, but we are only going to need to do 50%. And there's this other part underneath that is gonna, or underneath, above, that is gonna meet us, that is gonna do the other 50%. And with that, we can really start to feel that we're not just alone in our individual world. And this is really great with this Motivate community here. It's like there's really that 50% that we turn up, but then there's all of around us, all this support. Like Adrian, you give so much. You're doing this week after week after week. You're giving a lot, and in that same way, though, you're receiving. That it's like you're doing 50%, but without all the other people turning up and turning up as much as they can, there wouldn't be, you know, we meet the world like that. In the same way, the archetypes that we're meeting that archetypal quality as we go out to become coaches, um, which I find sometimes interesting when people are viewed as different things, as healers or as magicians and so on, that quality is given to them, that we can only do 50%. So if we're there and we want to be someone else, and we come up and we're doing this thing, but we're not being met by that 50% to say you are that thing, and we can do it for so long. But when we really begin to just start to meet ourselves, and in that self being, that what do others see in you, what do others see in what is you are giving. And I don't know, later on in the talk I'm going to go and I want us to find our brand essence. What is it as a coaches that we are, what is that essence in us that we can begin to really narrow down our brand essence about. That's another part coming up. Where are we? Yes, we are in the timelessness, the archetypal world. So I want to get, are there anyone here? You can write it in the chat box, but I would like you to, let's take the first woman there on the left hand side. I would like you to write in, what are the archetypal qualities that you see in this woman, knowing that there are no wrong answers. There's no wrong answers. I would like us to start to just put it in the chat box, or please, or turn on your microphone and jump in. Tell me, what are the archetypal qualities you see in this woman? Smiling away here on the left.
So if you look at this grandmother, like, maybe what do you feel in yourself when you look at her? And if you can't look at her because you're listening, it's like I see a lady with gray hair with a big smile on her face, but it feels warm. I can't see anything that looks warm. It just feel, and maybe I sense, and in my mind I sense and put together, like or it just brings up in me a loving grandmother. So
Grandmother.
that's
Yeah.
Delita, loving mother.
Mother, grandmother.
I know.
Yeah.
Does anyone else see a sister? And I'm curious if the women would see her as a sister.
Oh, that's interesting. Yeah, yeah.
Or auntie.
And so we start to we see a grandmother, and we can see a grandmother quality that is in time, that she actually has. She has a child. She has um she has grandchildren. And, that's in time. Yet we can also see she's a grandmother in that timeless sense.
And someone
That
shared the chat as well about matriarch.
matriarchy.
Mm.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And she can be, she can be a nurturer or a healer. She can be a spinster. There's no wrong. There's no
Fair
question.
enough. Healer and storyteller.
Storyteller. Yes.
Yeah, she could be a storyteller and a healer.
Yeah, nice one.
That's how she would coach you with things. So hey, this is what I was using it for just recently. Like, I had a little problem in my mind. So while I had a problem, my own real life situation, not enough, whatever, I thought about it from the king aspect, and I connected well with the king aspect and got a king angle back at my problem. When I jump into the nurturing mother archetype and I look back at that problem, I get really different information. So I wonder what that grandmother would tell me, or I wonder what she would think, or what she would do if she was me,
Mm.
or if she was to talk to my problem. Watch how I'm handling the problem. It'd be nice to hear what that nurturer would say.
Yeah, that's possible. I was at this play recently, and the actor was talking about that he has a grandfather that he had never met, and that became like a guardian angel for him. And in that sense that he had never met his grandfather, he was able to give all those archetypal qualities, that timeless qualities, without being in time. Because when we're in time, we have all these time personal things that are gonna, in a way, we know what it's like to live with someone. We know we start to see all these other parts to them, and they don't. We cannot really give that archetypal quality of all these good traits that we want. So that what we see in this woman here, we can really feel that sense of, if nurture is that one that's wanted, we can really feel that in an archetypal quality. But for example, if we live with this woman every day, that she's gonna be a flesh and blood person that's just like got her issues and got her quirkiness and her challenges, but in a sense that that archetypal quality is that thing that's behind of her, and that we, in a way that's, it's like projection, that we are able to really feel those qualities in an imagined sense. That is our imagination that is partially creating them. We do not know what this woman has, but we can start to imagine that and give those attributes that are wanted in the moment. So yeah, if we'll go on to the other couple of
Yeah,
this, the
sorry,
next,
Peter. Thank you. You just made me see something a little different. You said about time a couple of times, time, and I just saw about how time influences this sometime. And a friend of mine was saying how his sister is like never loving or something, right? And I know that his sister can be really loving. It's just a matter of context, time and place. So there's certain times when it's like 100%, loving it on, and there's times when it's not. And Charlie Chaplin, in your picture there, Charlie Chaplin, right? Timeless. I love watching Mr. Bean. And it's just because, like, there's being flashing lights and flashing scenes. You see Mr. Bean, yeah, or Charlie Chaplin, and you see, you can just really connect to the person. They don't even need sound. Just seeing Charlie Chaplin,
yeah,
seeing energy. Yeah,
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 going
yeah,
back
yeah.
that our first example, about those times that we really feel that those archetypal qualities in someone, and then they're disappeared. It's like we come down. Um, I yeah, I
We
won't say it.
come down, we put it on, and a lot of life is about mastery. And you could say one way or a lens to look at development is, well, how skillful is a person at taking on and taking off masks, or jumping into roles. And then if you're coaching and having conversation, jumping in and out of roles, or fighting in and out of positions, or dancing in and out. Yeah, a lot of wonderful metaphors can come through with this, yeah?
Yeah,
Relative
yeah.
time and space.
Like Charlie Chaplin, he's got this incredible quality, and then we know from his history, well, that he had this other life where he was not he didn't have these qualities. He was not this perfect human, because it's like he had these issues. He didn't have in his relationships with women. He was a disaster. Um. So, and then we will say like, oh, yeah, but yeah, he had these struggles, but he had this archetypal quality, this role of the trickster, the jester, in which he was this complete person. He was complete. When he was out there performing, he had this completeness about him that he was embodying an archetype. Um, but that's only a part of our life, and we have all parts of our life where we are embodying those archetypes, these qualities. We are connected, and then we have other parts of our life that it's we're adrift. We're like this. We're just humans, and we don't have that what we had in this other spectrum of our life, where we had those archetypal qualities. And yeah, Charlie Chaplin is good example of that. I'm gonna
And
go
then we have
back.
some of the systems there, and then we can have specific systems where you can have archetypes that balance each other. Like at first there was one, and then it divides into yin and yang, black and white. You could blend it into 3 or 4. And I've been playing at 4 archetypes, and they're kind of like, yeah, but these are all.
Yeah.
Can we look at this one in the middle here? What's the guy up this one in the middle?
Yeah. What archetypes do you see in this guy in the middle? So just there is no wrong answer here. Everything.
Is he
Everything is
trying
correct.
to be funny?
Is he? I've only noticed the obvious that I did not see when I put up the video. When I put up the picture, I'm looking at this like I did not intend that, but
Yeah.
so he could be a joker.
could be a hilarious joke.
I was looking more for the warrior,
Or
but
he could be an absolute warrior.
yeah,
Change the picture a little bit.
a hunter.
Yeah, if I put my
Father.
hand over the bottom half, I can actually see him as a focused as a warrior or a hunter. Mark shares in the chat, warrior hunter looks like some sort of pipe.
Yeah. Yes. So going on to the next one's interesting here. The guy on the left. Can you tell me what archetypal qualities, what archetype this gentleman here has got? If you want to say gentleman.
I'm going to say determined.
Say again?
Focused. Determined.
In the archetypal sense, what are the archetypal qualities that determined? Yeah, is more like a description of a personality. What is behind there? What are the influences? What archetypes are influencing? Does anyone have? You can put it in the chat.
I'm actually going to say warrior, freedom fighter.
Yeah, okay. No wrong answers.
Yes, leader writes leader. Well, when someone writes leader, like there's some people you would follow and some people you wouldn't.
Yeah.
You know, in the military, some people kind of had like, and it actually, studies have shown, not statistics, studies have shown that people will follow certain people for reasons which aren't necessarily right. But like if a person has a particular energy or confidence, certain types of confidence, they're much more likely to get followers, even if they know nothing about the subject, right? Yeah, and people that often know deeply about the subject don't necessarily talk about it, or their personality might be, yeah. Now, if it comes to using equipment, I find that if it comes to technical specifications, a lot of the Germans will underestimate their skill and be, where some of my friends from other places will be overconfident, just run. So
you could say that he's a communicator. You could say that he's an influencer. He's definitely an influencer. He's got a big influence. A straw
he
man.
definitely had a call to action.
Yeah. Straw man, some would say that it is just like and a shaman who's just able to manipulate, very much manipulate. But it's showing a bit that there's in the archetypal world, there's not this positive and negative. We, of course, are going to view it negatively in our human world, in our time world. I hope we're all good. But in our timeless world, there's like there are these archetypal qualities that none of them are positive or negative. They're just these qualities that exist.
Qualities that exist in the human experience.
Yeah, and they're just passing through. Like I can imagine another reality where, the society in which you were didn't give any space, and he became, I don't know, he went back to doing art or something like that, or he just was a grumpy old man. Just there's this thing that where we meet when it's met, we meet the archetype is met by the collective unconscious. And that collective unconscious, when it's not so, if it's got all its traumas that have not been seen, that these things can happen. So that's our job as coaches and as individuals, is to begin to see that unconsciousness, and bring light to that, so these things don't unfold. And it's happening here in Motivate.
Become more aware when we are running the archetypes, and sometimes I run the archetypes, run and enjoy it. But sometimes when you're aware you're running an archetype, you might want to stop and slow down, take a couple of deep breaths or something.
Or just allow it and allow it run through, and to be that, because it's not, we don't like to be unpopular, and we don't like to be not liked. But if we can sense, we connect to that inner self inside of us, and said, this is needed for the humanity, for something outside of us, and that we're tapping into that, then that can be a guide for us. So moving on to the next woman.
Thank you, Peter. One thing you just said there was, I said about jumping in fast and changing it, and like jumping in and fixing it, and you corrected that. And sometimes we want to actually digest it, right?
Well, yeah, it's we began with the two sides, with the NLP side, the more transformational, that we can change. We can
it's
change.
A problem. We can fix it. It's a problem.
Yeah.
We can.
Yeah, let's fix it. Let's fix it. And who is fixing that? It is that controlling self in us, that's controlling it, that thinks I know best. And yet there's another part where we allow this archetypal quality play out, this scene to play out till the end, because from a very young age as a child, we learned how to control ourselves, and what was not allowed, what our parents, the culture around us, what did not allow. But we're now grown-ups, and we can begin to develop that inside of us when something is not allowed. And I'm not talking about this guy on the left, because we know that's not us. But as we begin to see that the other side of things, the more psychotherapy, the Jungian version of the world, has an awareness of what is going on, and allows this shadow side of us to play out and the more we can do it in safe spaces, the better. That we do it in workshops and so on. There's so many places appearing around the world where we can play out these these parts of us that are not beautiful and pretty and are not all flowers because because they've been suppressed.
Yeah, thanks, Peter. And that's what we did a talk on that about 2 weeks ago. I think it was the last week. We did a talk on coaching and psychotherapy, and that was essentially that. Was if you're jumping in, doing the it fix the problem NLP or the psychotherapy, and the it. We said most of the coaching is a bit more of this.
Yeah.
Psychotherapy, allowing the play, and allowing it to unfold more naturally in time and space rather than trying to fix it. But what's the picture on the right?
Yeah, do you recognize it?
Innocence?
Yeah. I will. What else? What other qualities could be seen? Anyone else got anything to share there? So this is Mary Magdalene. That will a painting of this archetypal Mary Magdalene. Obviously, she probably wasn't so white. Being in the Middle East, we like to create our characters that are much closer to us, but that's generally what archetypes we are creating human archetypes. So this is a very archetypal painting. So it's Mary Magdalene, and she has these qualities. What qualities would you see in her? Does anyone want to put it in the text chat box? Oh, I can see the chat. Curious. Yeah. Innocence. Innocence. And when you hear the name of Mary Magdalene, she has also another side to her. That would have been, like some say, the lover of Jesus, and that the qualities could be of giving, very much a giving quality. The seeker, yeah. The follower, yeah, very much. Very. I think this picture is after the death of Jesus, and it could be that it's showing quite a deep love, whether that was physical love or something else. Yeah, so there's many different ways to see it. Otherwise, it could be a prostitute. You could see as a prostitute of that's where it is being used, and that doesn't have any positive or negative. It just is. So we're gonna move on. Right. So this is the as I spoke before, that as we've been in this archetypal world, we're beginning to see more and more that the archetypal quality is given to us. That when we are looking at these images, we're giving that archetypal quality to these people. It's not, they're not deciding. Charlie Chaplin is not deciding that he is this thing. He might be practicing doing theater, but it's us that gives it the quality of the clown or the joker or the trickster. It's us who gives that. And so as a coach, just to take 2 minutes just to write down what are the archetypal qualities firstly you see in yourself. What are those? What is your quality in terms of your coaching world. So this is an exercise that we begin to really hone in on that brand to get a quintessence of what it is that we are providing. And so the first step is just to write down what are the qualities that you see in yourself. And it can be quite a list of them, just free form, write them down. What comes? I give a minute for that. Okay, and feel free to put them in the chat then, so that we can see. The navigator, yeah, the healer, the traveler. Thanks, Mark. The nomad, the chameleon. I like that. The chameleon, the visionary. It's great. Magician, the storyteller. That's great. So going to the next, yes, a sister, a daughter. Thanks, that's really the Joker. I get creative. Great. And now those qualities. This is now maybe more an exercise for that you can begin to ask those around you or those that you're coaching, that begin to ask them what are the qualities that they see in you, as that those qualities will really help to guide and to really, as you begin to, we're all the time changing to wanting to work with different people, and the more we begin aware of what others see in us, then what archetypal qualities that are seen in us, then we can start to really just to bring that consistency that helps in this there's so much noise out there in the world, and as you can see, like we have these many characteristics, like Mark was saying there, the navigator, the healer, the traveler, the nomad, the chameleon, the visionary, magician, storyteller. Like, wow, I thought I had a few, but this is a lot, right? And so this is a lot for someone coming to our services. It's like it's a lot. It's very cluttered if we're putting out all of this into the space. So if you see these are these people, these iconic people, below, if you were to look on Albert Einstein, what is that brand image that he has? And these are ones that are quite clear, that kind of come like that we know. So Einstein, what quality what is that one quality if you were to pick one thing over all the rest? What is it that what this image shows to you? Genius, exactly. So it's genius is clear, and we've got that. He's got that clear thing that is like universally we know that image, that archetypal image. Um so and then we've got Mahatma Gandhi here, and we know what is that quality that he has that above all else. Others seeing it. Mark, thanks. Warrior, bridge builder between spiritual and physical worlds. Yeah, yeah, that's really useful to have these what the others see in you, because you are also you have these archetypal qualities behind of you. So yeah, Mahatma Gandhi would be, the first thing that comes to mind would be peace. Um, Nelson Mandela um, would be like would be justice. Revolutionary, yeah, revolutionary justice. And Martin Luther King, like the thing that comes off the mind is civil rights. This is his cause, and he became, synonymous with that. And so the more we start to we have all these archetypal qualities, and yet in the online sphere, when we're out putting ourselves out there, um, to represent all of that starts to become more noise, and people don't have that focus. So the more we begin to really hone in on those qualities, that we can begin to create, to really mold our brand, our image, for this online sphere. In the other world, we have all these qualities, but in this very limited social media world where people have very little attention span to really connect with you, the more we begin to write, just to find that essence, that brand essence within us. This can be really useful work also with just what we've been going through today with the archetypes, knowing that that archetypal quality is given to you, that it's not that these guys spend every day just wanting to be this person. It's like they're just doing their thing, and this archetypal quality is given to that. How are we going? Where are we next? So yeah, this is just beginning to bring us to the end of this. NLP, as we know, has come about through modeling, or as many of us know, modeling. And those modeling is using those five senses of seeing. We have these influences that in the physical world, in time, those people around us that we're really inspired by, that we want to be. I went to see John Grinder. He's the founder of NLP, and he's amazing, and I want to be him. And what are the characteristics behind him? He's for me, he's a magician. He's just like, I don't know what he's doing, but I want to be. I want to be like that. And well, I that route wasn't for me, even as much as I tried. Um, modeling him, we're modeling very much the physical life person, the live person. But in an archetypal sense, we can begin to model, and that is a sense of we're using more senses. We're using the imagination sense, which is not defined anywhere. It's scientific science. With this imagination is this space where we can begin to become actively involved in this other world, our inner world, and
Yeah,
that.
and then there's a clear point here, isn't it? Like, well, it's not always right clear, but NLP was pretty much like John Grinder and I were pretty much, you know, you got to use your five senses. You know, I can feel it, but it's like, no, well, what are you feeling? And, you know, that they wanted to, it was in the fight, it was in the senses. And, you know, we're not supposed to, in general, we don't use our imagination. It's, you know, we're not mind reading, but you're really opening up to the bigger picture where you are, tapping into the rest of it.
Yeah. I got interested in Rudolf Steiner, and Rudolf Steiner is very esoteric world. And Carl Jung and Rudolf Steiner were around at the same time. And Rudolf Steiner, Carl Jung didn't really respect what Rudolf Steiner was doing, because Carl Jung he said, scientifically minded, that he wanted proof for something. And yet in NLP, in John Grinder's world, jumping back to John Grinder's world, um, he wanted to understand. He couldn't, like, if it wasn't observable, then it was just a make-believe world. But in Carl Jung dismissed Steiner because he thought he could prove it. And yet Carl Jung's world is very, very much more like in that imagination, that it is not really scientifically, and it's one of his criticisms, is that it's not scientifically proven, even though he believed that it was scientifically proven. So it's about beginning to create your own, like in Carl Jung, we showed that video at the beginning. He's like, he doesn't need to believe, he knows that we know that we're on that path to really sensing that, okay, there's all this world out there that has a science which is great, and there's a world that has very much a story, that it's a very much like people are beginning to identify with their archetype, and they're really going into immersed in the world of, I am this archetype, I am a healer, I am a spiritual person. And we could see where that also goes wrong, but we're in that midpoint. We're mapping that between the science world, which, when you follow the scientific world, that just is logic, and we deny a story, then we become one-sided. So we're all the time with the archetypal world and the story are come together very much. Our logic is that ability to be able to differentiate, to be able to see that we are going into story, we are going to inhabit a story for this moment, we are going to meet the archetypal quality, and we are playing out this role here. And it's just being able to be that bridge between the two. So yeah, they're bringing the end of this towards the end. Yeah, what has this brought up in you? What questions? What is this? What is this beginning? What are you beginning to see in the archetypal realm? What more can we explore in these last few minutes together?
Have you heard of Nassim Taleb, or the Black Swan?
Yes.
Anti-fragile?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's a great thinker. He's a great thinker. And in his book, he very much questions things, and he says, like, when the whole system shakes, like the banking system shakes, some banks will crash and collapse. You know, and with the body, when you work out, some of the muscles will burn and tear, and they'll collapse or tear. And it's in the rebuilding that the system gets stronger. So, you know, we don't want to overprotect ourselves. We don't want to over pad. The system needs to be, you know, anti-fragile, or we need to experience events. When I consider the archetypes, if I was to kind of go 1, 2, 3, 4 on a map and have 4 archetypes on a map, or 5 or 6, or a circle, let's say 100 archetypes on a map, I'm thinking it's a 2-dimensional map. So I was thinking, what if the Joker archetype is like, needed? Like I'm thinking like not the Charlie Chaplin Joker. I'm talking like that crazy Joker, the Batman Joker. Sometimes we need something like, and one thing you said to me over the phone some time back was about the jester making the king laugh, and just to push the boundaries, kind of thing. Yeah, that's what's coming up for me. That's what I like to share.
In Native American, in one of the Indian cultures there, they in, I don't know, when you were in school in class, there was always a messer in the classroom, and the teacher would be telling them to get out of the classroom. I don't know, maybe it was you, maybe it was one of you, you wear that messer, but that was not allowed. Well, in this Native American culture, it was actively encouraged those skills of that messer to become that jester, to become the joker, to be able to show the leader where their follies, because we all have this, if we really feel into it, that if we get this power, we get the control as a human, our natural instinct is going to be to get more and more of that power. But we need all those parts of these archetypal qualities. We need that fool joker there. We need to have the shaman. We need to have these roles that have been eradicated from our culture.
Yeah, you mentioned it, man. I considered a friend from years, like my first year of school, year 7. He kind of took my hat. He was a prick, and we fought a little bit, but he was a joker type, Spent a little time with him afterwards, and I seen this joker type. I seen this shit kid grow up, first stealing my stuff, trouble at school, suspended, whatever, bad life, drugs, whatever, fall off, maybe suicide. Last time I saw him, I heard about him a while ago, like on the edge of committing suicide, jumping off of the biggest building in town. A way to make a fool out of himself. One way to make a fool out of himself was being on the news for almost jumping off a building. Now, if he was taken out as like, you're a troublemaker, get out of this class, you're a troublemaker, this is a class for you. This is called beating the system. If he had a job where his role was to poke holes in an operating system or in a bank system to see, someone to test the security of system, the troublemaker could have a lot of jobs, and maybe he doesn't belong in the class of 30 kids because he's a troublemaker. Pull him out, and you're in this class. It's called sports. Go on, run crazy. The environment can really foster and develop, an archetype, or it can completely bloody suppress it.
Boom! You made it here! Good on you. Make sure you click the subscribe button below and check out the playlist at the end. If you'd like to come along to our Sunday sessions where we host a live, free Q&A for our students and members, you're welcome. I'll see you there.